Australia is home to over 1,000 Tibetans. Some were born in Tibet, some in exile in India, some here in Australia. Many are former political prisoners. All remain deeply attached to their homeland. 2012 finds Tibet in a deepening state of crisis, closed to all media, tourists and foreign officials, and engulfed in a worsening cycle of resistance and repression. With their religion, culture and very way of life under attack, at least 30 Tibetans, including monks, nuns, and even a farmer and a mother, have set themselves on fire while calling for freedom. This is the story of the Tibet Advocacy Project, a new initiative to take the voices of Australia's Tibetan community and Tibet supporters where it matters, to the Australian government in Canberra, to send a message direct to our decision makers and to turn Australia into a stronger force for Tibet's future.
Hi, we are here in front of Parliament House in Canberra for the first Tibet Lobby Day in Australia. For the last few weeks, all Tibetans and Tibet supporters in Australia have responded to the crisis in Tibet by writing to our local politicians and urging they meet with the delegation today. We have a clear message. Australians care deeply about the Tibet issue, and we want to see real support from our government. Pugelo!
There's another important aspect of this story of us, important enough that I'm suggesting we make sure one person really gets it across. And that's about us and what we're doing here with this Tibet Advocacy Day, because this is actually quite unusual, not just for Tibet, but for any kind of group to be going and meeting together with representatives of themselves from all over Australia, you know, with a large number of politicians from both sides of politics to talk about their issue and explore explore solutions or things that the Australian government can do. So a really important part of that story of us is just that, saying, you're part of a delegation of 12 Tibetans who've come to Canberra, because of this rapid escalation situation inside Tibet. You're here really to talk to people from all over the parliament. You're meeting with 35 members and senators today. And you're really here to talk and to listen and to look at some practical things we can do.
I'm Yashi from Sydney. I'm here to lobby the Australian government. We are here to draw the attention from the government and to the recent crackdown inside Tibet and to show our concern, and we want to draw attention from the Australian government and to some concrete action on this one.
I think this is a very historic day for the Tibetan in Australia. This is our first Team Tibet group in Australian Parliament to lobby for Tibet.
And Senator Hanson Young is the Greens spokesperson for Tibet, and Senator Luklam has been, both of them, really strong supporters of the Tibet issue, both inside and outside the Parliament, and both of them have been to Dharamsala on the first Australian delegation, parliamentary delegation to Dharamsala, and Sarah is again going this year.
This morning, before we start to meet with politicians, we were a bit nervous, and then we were not sure how it will go. But once we met the first politicians, and then we know how it works. And then now we are really calm, and then we're much more positive, and then we feel lots relaxed. We also got really good feedback from the politicians that we met so far. So hopefully we will continue to get the same positive message from the next coming politicians.
A delegation of Tibetan exiles has been lobbying Australian parliamentarians today to address what they consider to be an escalating crisis in Tibet.
The delegation of Tibetan Australians met federal politicians in Canberra to raise awareness of what they say is an escalating crisis in Tibet. They argue Australia should use its strong economic relationship with China to push for change.
So we just came out of the meeting with Senator Doug Cameron here today, we being the ACT delegation, part of the Tibet Advocacy Project, and I'm sure many Tibet supporters are familiar with Doug Cameron. He's been a long-time supporter, and the meeting had a terrific energy about it. His enthusiasm was palpable, and we came away from the meeting with some really great concrete promises from the Senator to raise the issue with the Prime Minister and within the Labor Party caucus. And the Senator also mentioned that the Tibet issue is one of the top 10 issues that's circulating within Parliament House, which really gave us a good feeling of hope and enthusiasm, and we're now off to our next meeting with another senator, and really looking forward to it.
For many of these exiled Tibetans, the prospect of returning to their homeland is a distant one, but that hasn't stopped them from lobbying against Chinese rule in the troubled region.
We have been asking our parliamentarians to, ask the Australian government to raise the issue publicly and to send an Australian fact-finding delegation and to elevate the issue of Tibet to greater prominence.
Efforts to lobby Australian politicians follow concerns by advocacy groups over the gradual erosion of Tibetan culture and religious repression, allegedly at the hands of Chinese authorities. That was the message conveyed to the Australian Parliament.
On behalf of the Parliamentary Friendship Group for Tibet and my constituents in Fremantle, may I say how concerned we are about the deepening crisis in Tibet, which has seen around 30 Tibetans setting themselves on fire in acts of protest since 2009.
We're really here to ask you to do something, actually. And so we've got it down right now. Basically, we think the situation is so urgent right now that we would like both sides of Parliament, which we're meeting, to take urgent action on the Tibetan situation. So we would like it if you would consider to write a letter to your Foreign Affairs spokesperson. In particular, just calling for the Australian government to make a very strong public statement, following that up with a fact-finding mission to Tibet.
Australia's ambassador to China and a group of federal politicians will try to visit Tibet to see firsthand the situation there.
So we've just come back from question time in the Senate, where we heard Senator Sarah Hanson-Young from the Greens ask the new Foreign Minister Bob Carr a question about Tibet and His Holiness the Dalai Lama. The Senator asked Bob Carr, will you meet His Holiness the next time you get an opportunity? Mr Carr didn't directly answer the question, but what he did do was announce that the Australian Embassy in Beijing had made a formal request today of the Chinese authorities to send a fact-finding delegation both to Lhasa and also to the areas in Sichuan where the recent Tibetan protests have been. So that was quite a positive thing. Whether or not how the Chinese respond, we don't know, but this is at least an encouraging sign.
So this has been a great day for the Tibet movement in Australia. The Tibetans met close to 40 members of the Parliament and briefed them on the latest situation in Tibet and asked the Australian government to take a stronger position on Tibet, especially in response to the current crisis inside Tibet. But this is just the beginning. We'll be back here again.